Welcome back to Enlighten, the channel where history comes alive through the magic of artificial intelligence.
In this episode, we continue our exploration of Napoleon Bonaparte's fascinating life.
Today, we'll dive into his early military career and his pivotal role in the siege of Toulon, a moment that marked the rise of a young artillery officer. We'll also uncover the revolutionary fervor that shaped France and set the stage for Napoleon's ascent.
Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on this exciting journey through history.
Chapter 2: Bonaparte's role in the siege of Toulon and the revolutionary context.
In the summer of 1793, Bonaparte began his military career.
Following the execution of King Louis XVI on January 21st, the French Convention declared war on England.
The king's death united European monarchies against the revolutionaries, and within France, there was significant backlash.
The people of Toulon, a crucial French port on the Mediterranean, allied with the English and Spanish fleets, allowing them to take control of the city.
Toulon was heavily fortified and stocked with naval and military supplies, making its loss a severe blow to the revolutionary government.
This period, known as the Reign of Terror, saw Paris in turmoil, with widespread executions under Robespierre.
Despite the internal chaos, the French government was determined to repel external threats. Two armies were quickly dispatched to Toulon, leading to a series of battles. The French forces eventually managed to encircle the city and commence a major siege.
The siege of Toulon was poorly managed at first.
The initial commanders, Cotteau, a former painter with a high opinion of himself, and Doppet, an ex-physician and coward, led the efforts ineffectively. Several representatives of the people, who were government spies without military expertise, were present to oversee the commanders' actions. Their interference often caused delays and mistakes, but their presence also pressured the military to perform better due to fear of the government's scrutiny. One of these deputies was the younger Robespierre, whose reputation alone made him a daunting presence.
Napoleon Bonaparte arrived at the headquarters with orders to take command of the artillery. Although some suggest his appointment was due to his connections with Salicetti, it was likely his strong performance at the military academy that earned him the position. Bonaparte had also recently gained attention with his pamphlet, The Supper of Beaucaire, which supported Jacobin politics. Despite his achievements, he was met with hostility by Cotteau, who was pompous in his gold-laced uniform, and initially dismissed Bonaparte's role, though he grudgingly allowed him to share in the glory. When Bonaparte took command of the artillery, he found many issues with the current situation.
The commanders were still debating which part of the town to attack first. One end had strong, well-built fortifications, while the other end had only a small, weak fort called Malbasket.
Bonaparte also noticed that the guns were placed too far from the walls, and that the shot was heated far from where it would be fired, making it ineffective.
He quickly addressed these problems by choosing officers he trusted and gathering guns from various sources, ending up with an effective set of 200 pieces.
He then proposed a new plan to the general overseeing the siege.
Bonaparte suggested a straightforward approach. Instead of a lengthy assault on the town, they should set up batteries to control the harbor and the roadstead.
He reasoned that if they could dominate the promontory opposite the town, they could force the English ships to leave, which would then make the English troops withdraw as well. His argument eventually convinced the general, and Bonaparte was allowed to implement his plan.
A month earlier, capturing the promontory would have been easy, but by then the enemy had fortified it heavily, calling it the Little Gibraltar. This made it necessary to build extensive batteries behind La Grasse before they could hope to take it.
Bonaparte worked tirelessly, often sleeping in his cloak by the guns, and made significant progress. He also built a large, concealed battery behind Malbasket, covered by olive trees. He planned to reveal this battery during his main attack on Little Gibraltar to confuse the enemy.
However, the representatives of the people nearly ruined his plan. While inspecting the area, they discovered the concealed battery and, not understanding its purpose, ordered it to start firing immediately. The English troops responded with a fierce attack and managed to disable the guns before Bonaparte could intervene. When Bonaparte arrived, he noticed a deep ditch that he thought could be useful. He ordered a regiment to move through the ditch unnoticed until they were near the enemy. The English commander, General O'Hara, mistook them for allies and went out to assist, only to be wounded and captured. The English, demoralized by the loss of their general, retreated, allowing the French to repair their battery.
During this battle, much blood was shed, and Bonaparte himself was wounded in the thigh by a bayonet.
He was carried off the field by Murat, who would become a close friend.
Despite the injury, Bonaparte continued his work behind Little Gibraltar. The fort came close to being taken by accident before Bonaparte's preparations were complete.
An unexpected insult sparked a heated conflict between the French soldiers in the trenches and the Spaniards in Little Gibraltar. The French troops, acting impulsively, launched a fierce assault. Seeing the opportunity, Bonaparte urged Doppet to send additional regiments to support the attack. However, Doppet, panicked by the death of a man beside him, ordered a retreat before any significant progress could be made. Shortly after, Doppet was replaced by General Dugommier, a brave veteran who supported Bonaparte's efforts.
Despite this improvement, the representatives of the people again nearly sabotaged the siege.
After 4 months, with provisions running low, these civilian officials, unable to understand the strategy behind focusing on a location like Little Gibraltar, wrote to Paris suggesting that the siege should be abandoned. However, just 2 days before this letter reached Paris, Toulon had fallen.
The representatives then claimed that the letter was a forgery.
The decisive moment arrived when Bonaparte deemed it time for his grand assault.
During the night of December 17th, he unleashed 8,000 bombs and shells on Little Gibraltar, shattering its defenses.
At dawn, General Dugommier commanded the French forces, who, led by the valiant Murat, stormed the fortifications with overwhelming force, annihilating the entire garrison. The rest of the day was spent repositioning the batteries to dominate the harbour.
True to Bonaparte's prediction, the following morning revealed that the English fleet had already set sail. The scene that followed was one of chaos and desperation.
The English, unwilling to leave Toulon without destroying the French ships and arsenal they had seized, set fire to the ships and exploded the magazines.
Simultaneously, 14,000 anti-Jacobin inhabitants, fearing retribution from the victorious Republicans, thronged the beach, pleading for escape.
The harrowing spectacle of burning vessels, exploding ordnance, and the anguished cries of the refugees lasted for hours.
Eventually, the flotilla carrying the exiles departed, leaving the walls deserted.
General Dugommier then took control of Toulon. Following the recapture of Toulon, the Republicans, having found that all prominent figures who had opposed them had fled, sought to vent their fury on lesser victims. In a grim turn of events, a seemingly benign proclamation called upon the workmen who had assisted the besieged forces to report to headquarters. The 150 men who complied were tragically marched into a field and executed, along with approximately 1,000 others in similarly horrific circumstances. Bonaparte, though he was not the commanding officer, vehemently denied any involvement in these atrocities. Even if he had been, his position would have left him unable to defy orders without risking his life.
It is well documented that he intervened to protect a family of royalists shipwrecked near Toulon, rescuing them from the vengeful mob by personally securing their safety and arranging their escape disguised as a supply convoy. The recapture of Toulon was a strategic triumph for the French government, quelling insurrection in the south and freeing up an army for other fronts. Despite this, Bonaparte's critical role was initially overlooked in Paris.
The representatives of the people who had failed to arrive at Little Gibraltar until after the French forces had secured most of the fortifications shamelessly took credit for the victory.
They claimed leadership in the assault and omitted Bonaparte's name from their accounts.
Nevertheless, his achievements could not be hidden, and he was subsequently assigned to oversee and fortify the entire Mediterranean coastline of France.
During the siege, while preparing a dispatch under heavy fire, Bonaparte requested a scribe.
A young sergeant named Junot responded, writing as dictated despite nearby artillery fire.
When a shot exploded near them, Junot humorously remarked that the dust saved them from having to use sand.
Impressed by Junot's composure and humor, Bonaparte kept a close watch on him. Junot eventually rose to become a Marshal of France and Duke of Abrantes.
Thank you for tuning in to Enlighten, where we've explored Napoleon Bonaparte's critical role in the siege of Toulon and the revolutionary spirit that defined his era. We hope you enjoyed learning about these pivotal moments in his journey to power.
Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss episode 3, where we'll delve into his early military victories and the strategies that made him a formidable leader.
Until next time, keep discovering the remarkable stories of history with us.